Inside the Magic, show number 328 for July 17th, 2011. It is Sunday, July 17th, 2011. This is show 328 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I'm your host, Ricky Briganti. Got another great show packed with Disney and theme park news and a whole lot more fun. And before we get started, I do invite you to visit InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find not only our podcast, but videos, photos, news, articles, and so much more. And you can interact with us if you have any tips, news, or questions. You can write to me at Ricky@InsideTheMagic.net or call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486, and maybe we'll share the voice message on the show. With all of that said, let's get started for this week's episode of Inside the Magic. And this week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. Viva Italia! The agents at Magical Travel have personally experienced an Adventures by Disney vacation to Italy. I'm a bit jealous of that. Let Magical Travel plan your adventure of a lifetime and receive a $200 Visa gift card. Summer is here. Plan your summer vacation today before it does wrap up in, about a month and a half. Call Magical Travel today at 866-207-8387 or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote, and be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive that free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And by listeners like you, thanks very much to everybody who sent in a donation to the show, be it one time or recurring monthly. I appreciate it very much, along with everybody who clicks through all of our affiliate links over at InsideTheMagic.net. It all helps out the show greatly, so thanks very much for that. And now, let's start off the show with our trip around the world. So here we are, show 328, live once again online over at InsideTheMagic.net/live. Lots of people in the chat room on this late night Sunday edition, so thanks to everybody for joining us there. I just mentioned the donations and all of that, and I want to mention one quick thing here. I've actually upgraded InsideTheMagic.net to a new private server recently. I'm also working on improving, that's one of the ways I'm working on improving the speed of the website, and it's costing about 6 or 7 times more per month for this new server. Hopefully it's worth it. Hopefully you notice a difference in the speed of the website. As I said, I'm still working on it, but hopefully we'll get it up and running a lot faster in the near future and won't have any more errors when it's under high traffic as well. But basically I'm mentioning this because I want to let you know your donations are definitely appreciated for things like this. It's costing a lot more to host the website as it gets more and more popular, but it is worth it, and as long as these donations certainly help with upgrades like this. So just a quick mention there. Thanks again. And today is July 17th, a big day in Disney history. It is the 56th birthday of the park that started it all, Disneyland out in California. So a big happy birthday to the original theme park, Disneyland. And with all of that said, let's jump into this week's Disney news, of which there's a surprisingly large number of announcements. And I think the most surprising, kind of out of left field announcement was out here at Walt Disney World with the announcement this week of a new entertainment addition coming to Walt Disney World's Downtown Disney, and that is something called Splitsville. It's a chain of restaurants. I think they have 4 of them around the country right now. It features bowling and billiards in luxury lanes, as they call them, in an upscale setting. It's going to be 50,000 square feet, replacing Ride Makers, where it is now at Downtown Disney on the west side. Ride Makers is moving to a more permanent location somewhere over in the marketplace. This is the former home of the Virgin Megastore, and within Splitsville, not only can you do bowling and billiards, but also it's sort of a nighttime hangout atmosphere. There's a menu, of course, where you can choose from plenty of food, and you can get drinks, and as I said, there are a few of these in other locations around the country. And actually, a little bit later in the show, you're going to hear more about Splitsville and what it is all about from Skipper Ben, because he has actually been to a Splitsville before. So he'll tell you firsthand of what it is all like. But it's worth noting here real quick that in the other Splitsville locations, it has actually sort of a nighttime attire that's required. They expect you after 8 p.m. to have evening attire. And in addition to that, it being adult-oriented, the other Splitsville locations after 8 p.m. actually require you to be 21 years old at least, or higher, or greater, and I'm not sure that that's going to go over so well at Walt Disney World. I can't imagine them opening up something and around the west side of downtown Disney that requires you to be 21 years of age, but I don't know, we're just going to have to wait and see how that goes when it opens up. Currently, the closest location to Orlando for Splitsville is over in Tampa, and construction on Splitsville begins this fall. And as I said, a little bit later in the show, you'll hear more about what that whole experience is going to be like from Skipper Ben. In addition to announcing Splitsville, Disney also kind of commented on the state of Pleasure Island. And it was announced quite a few months ago, quite a long time ago actually, that Pleasure Island, of course, closed a number of years ago. I think it's been like 3 years since Pleasure Island closed. And recently, semi-recently, Disney announced that they were converting it to something called Hyperion Wharf. And Hyperion Wharf was going to be a great, nice hangout spot, shopping and dining, and some areas with lots of trees and a big sort of park area, and really just an enjoyable place to walk around for families. Well, none of that has happened yet. There's been some deconstruction, some demolition of some buildings over at Pleasure Island, but no construction has been going on. Well, Disney did make a comment about all of this week, and I'm just going to read it to you right here. They said, quote, "Over on Pleasure Island, we've completed removing some of the buildings that aren't part of our future plans. During the course of this site work, we identified opportunities to further refine our master plan and are pausing to evaluate them. What does this mean for you? While we're moving quickly, it will admittedly cause a delay in construction, but we're willing to bet that any delay will be worth the wait once we're able to share the details about the exciting work we've been doing," end quote. So, well, we're just going to have to wait and see is essentially what they're saying. Perhaps next month at the D23 Expo, they'll announce some more plans for the area, but I wouldn't hold my breath necessarily. It seems like it's just going to kind of sit there for a while Disney decides what to do with it. There are rumors of something World of Color-like coming to the area, but definitely rumors at this point. Nothing for sure. You know, we'll see about that. But for now, Hyperion Wharf is essentially on hold while the former Pleasure Island just kind of sits there. But something that is most definitely under construction and coming at a rapid pace to Orlando is the Little Mermaid ride. Of course, it opened recently out at Disney California Adventure, and now it's on its way to the Magic Kingdom as part of the new Fantasyland expansion. And this week, Disney offered some new details about the version of the Little Mermaid ride that's coming to Florida, including revealing that it's actually going to have a new name. It's not going to be called the same as it is in California, Ariel's Undersea Adventure. Rather, here in Orlando, it's going to be called Under the Sea Journey of the Little Mermaid. So an equally wordy title, but that's what it's going to be called here. Apparently, it's going to open in late 2012. They've released a new logo of what it will, the logo for the ride, and along with a little bit of new artwork. Nothing monumental, but here and there some. Sort of new glimpses of what the exterior of the building is going to look like, and even a bit of the queue. And actually, more importantly, they released some images of a scale model that Imagineering has created for the Little Mermaid ride out here, Under the Sea Journey of the Little Mermaid. I'm going to have to get used to saying that because that's what the ride is going to be called out here. And the scale model shows Prince Eric's castle and all of the rockwork surrounding and some waterfalls, and it looks really fantastic. I think it's going to be certainly an excellent ride with an amazing facade to it as part of the new Fantasyland. The ride inside is going to be essentially the same as the one in California, but definitely not the same on the outside. Also in the same post on the official Disney Parks blog, there was a rendition of kind of the overview concept art of all of New Fantasyland that's been seen a number of times now, except tacked onto the bottom of it was the date fall 2012. So it looks like that's a little bit more specific as to when they're shooting for an opening of something as part of the new Fantasyland. In addition to all of that, a little bit more coming out of the Little Mermaid ride out here for Florida. We're going to have a bit of an interactive queue, which is not present in the Disney California Adventure version. It's called Scuttle's Scavenger Hunt, and in that same release about Ariel's, well, I was going to say Ariel's Undersea Adventure. That's not what it's called here. Journey of the Little Mermaid. Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid. Scuttle's Scavenger Hunt artwork shows some guests walking around the queue with some guides or maps in their hands, kind of looking for something. And even in the background of the artwork, you see Scuttle himself, perhaps in an animatronic form, interacting with guests. And Disney's official description of this interaction, the Scuttle's Scavenger Hunt, is while approaching Ariel's grotto to meet the Little Mermaid, join Scuttle for this fun interactive game. Search the seaside entranceway to find the seagull's treasures from the human world, like a dinglehopper or a bulbous snarfblat. And Scuttle will be on hand to help with the hunt. So it goes right in line with a lot of other cues that Disney has been making interactive around Walt Disney World, and so we can look forward to seeing that in later this year, or rather later next year, toward the end of 2012 and early 2013. And so let's see. Let's hop over to Epcot now. Epcot International Food and Wine Festival coming up in September is when it starts. And it was announced this week that HGTV, who recently brought some special guests for the Flower and Garden Festival, are going to be returning once again with a lot of the same special guests for the Food and Wine Festival every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And they're going to basically be talking about ways to decorate your dinner table. Sort of an interesting spin on what they were doing for the Flower and Garden Festival. The first weekend, September 30th through October 2nd, Vern Yip will be here, and in subsequent weekends will be Monica Peterson, Aaron Lochner, Tanya Nyack, Kim Stogbauer, and Lisa Laporta and Emily Henderson. That'll all take place in the Festival Center. Here's some sad news, at least for me and anyone else who is a Tron fan. It seems that the Tronorail is now the Gonorail. It's just a regular old monorail now. It's back to monorail Coral. The Tronorail wrap has been removed. Unfortunately, I really enjoyed seeing that Tron Legacy wrap with the light cycles running around the tracks, but it is no longer. And actually, apparently, this happened sooner than I thought it did. I'm just learned about it a couple of days ago that Monorail Coral had resurfaced and the Tronorail wrap was removed. But as one Inside the Magic listener told me, and I will now share his message with you, it happened earlier than I thought.
Hi, Ricky. Walt Disney World monorail pilot and co-host of the Two True Freaks podcast, Scott Gardner here. I just finished episode 327 and was listening extra closely through the news segment because I really wanted to hear your take on what was, for me, the biggest happening in the world that last week. And nothing. I couldn't believe it. Nothing. Then I got to thinking, is it possible? Could it be? Are there things that happen at Walt Disney World of which Ricky Briganti is unaware? A frightening thought. So assuming you didn't know, the thing I wanted to hear you discuss was the retirement of the Tronorail. Yes, you heard me right. The evening of July 8th saw the last of Monorail Tron. Quietly and with absolutely no fanfare whatsoever, the Tronorail was taken back to Monorail Shop. It was around 1:30 a.m. on the morning of July 9th, where it's, I'm told, being returned to good old Monorail Coral. I know Disney and monorail fans will miss it, and I will most certainly miss it myself. It may sound corny, but the Tronorail kind of represents to me the symbolic start of my new career with Disney. As both a lifelong Tron fan, I love the original Tron movie, and an admitted Walt Disney World addict, it still boggles my mind when I think back on how, when the Tronorail was first announced and the first pictures of it started to show up online, I went from really seriously fretting about how I was ever going to be able to get away and get down to the world again from where I was living at the time to be able to see it, to having actually driven it. It just goes to show that we never really know what great and awesome things fate has in store for us, and it's what Jiminy Cricket tells us every night during Wishes. Dreams really do come true, if you believe. So, Goodbye, Tronorail. You were literally a Disney dream come true for me. Anyway, thanks for letting me share, Ricky. Keep up the great work, and I'll be listening.
Thanks very much, Scott. Great tale about the Tronorail and its inspiration for you, and like you, I will definitely miss it going around. Fortunately for everybody going to the D23 Expo next month, Disney will be releasing a die-cast version of the Tronorail for all you collectors out there, and I will definitely be getting one of those. It should be a lot of fun, and at least it is some way where we can continue to enjoy the Tronorail as the decades go by, -1. Or maybe when the next Tron film comes out, maybe we'll see it again. Who knows? But for now, no more Tronorail. So moving on with some more news from out here at Walt Disney World, here's another rumor, and I emphasize rumor on this one. New Magic Kingdom Parade coming in 2012. This is a rumor that's been around for quite a while, part of New Fantasyland and sort of improvements to Magic Kingdom. It's been said that this new parade may be Festival of Fantasy, could be the name of it, could be worked on by none other than Steve Davison, who worked on the Soundsational Parade, the excellent Mickey Soundsational Parade, new parade out at Disneyland in California. And boy, would I love to see a parade under his supervision come out here to Florida, especially a brand new parade in that same sort of style. And I hope this rumor is true. And here's one that is not so much a rumor. This is kind of minor news, but around Epcot and Tomorrowland at the Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom, anybody who's ever walked through some of those pathways and maybe gotten hit in the head or to the side or something by a big, giant, colorful, bouncy ball known as Balzac. Well, it's not going to happen anymore. Apparently, the Balzac balls, the big inflatable balls, kiosks around Walt Disney World have been removed. So you won't be seeing that in the parks anymore. A new special event was announced this week, and this is one I am certainly very, very excited for. It's a Haunted Mansion merchandise event. It's going to be at Disney's Contemporary Resort on September 30th. They're calling it Room for One More, which is a great follow-up name to the previous 999 Happy Haunts balls. Certainly works well from one to the other. The event's going to include a silent auction, which I'm certainly eager to find out what they're going to be auctioning off there. There'll be artist meet and greets, a haunted feast, a seance panel discussion with some Imagineers, and plenty of merchandise, lots of pins and other collectibles. It's $285 a person to attend, and you can't really buy a ticket yet. Instead, you can put your name in for a ticket lottery and hope that you will get a ticket. Kind of an interesting way of doing it. In the past, for example, at the Haunted Mansion 40th anniversary event for Disneyland, tickets sold out very, very quickly online, and I guess this is Disney's way of preventing that from happening by instead giving lots of people an equal shot to get a ticket for this. Unfortunately, that means nobody can just jump on and buy a ticket, and I'm really hoping that I end up getting one, but I won't find that out for another, another few days. I think tickets are available until the 20th, I believe, and then maybe around the 21st, everybody will be notified. And I received an email from Vacation Club this week that Bay Lake Tower, the Vacation Club resort right next to the Contemporary, is apparently expected to sell out this summer. So if you were interested in making Bay Lake Tower your home resort, purchasing into the Vacation Club, that's where you want to go. You're going to want to do that pretty soon because Disney is saying that it is running low in capacity there. Another announcement this week for Walt Disney World. This one's kind of interesting. Not that the other ones weren't, but this one is also interesting. A new Disney Youth program, self-guided learning opportunity, as they're calling it, is now going to be available for groups of 10 or more. It's called the Kingdom Keepers Quest. Following in line with the Kingdom Keepers books and written by Kingdom Keepers author Ridley Pearson. It's going to include visualization and observation and creativity and math and problem solving and language arts and critical thinking. It is a learning experience for sure, aimed at kids 10 to 12 years old, though not limited to that. But it is for groups of 10 or more with special pricing to get into the park and see all of that. It sounds like a fun program. So if anyone out there happens to get together a youth group and to check it out, I'd love to hear all about how that goes. Certainly sounds like a fun way to learn while moving your way through the Magic Kingdom. Related to that, loosely related to that, sort of on the same topic. The store at the Firehouse over at the Magic Kingdom apparently has closed to reportedly make way for some sort of interactive game perhaps coming to the Magic Kingdom, similar to the Kim Possible experience over at Epcot. That's not been announced or confirmed by Disney, but that's the rumor of what is going to be heading to the Magic Kingdom soon, perhaps where you'll be able to solve some puzzles as you go through. It's been said that perhaps it'll be called Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom because that's a name that Disney trademarked somewhat recently, but again, Disney has not announced this for sure, but we'll certainly keep an ear out and an eye out and see if Disney does confirm that or anything similar anytime soon. And back to the subject of Ridley Pearson and the D23 Expo. On the first day of the D23 Expo, Friday, August 19th, next month, just over a month from now, Disney announced this week that they will actually be having a special announcement at the D23 Expo in a storytelling event featuring writers Dave Barry and Ridley Pearson, as well as actor David Arquette, who is the star of Disney Junior's series Jake and the Neverland Pirates. It's all going to take place in the Convention Center main hall right there in Anaheim, put on by Disney Publishing Worldwide. There's going to be a family reading event that's going to be led by David Arquette. Everybody in attendance there will get a free book, and then there's going to be whatever this special announcement is. So anyone interested in all that should definitely head on out to the D23 Expo to see it in person. All right, so D23 Expo, of course, is happening in California, so let's continue now with some California news. And this week over at Disney California Adventure, the new entranceway that has been under construction for quite a while finally opened. It's very, very, very similar to that of Disney's Hollywood Studios out here in Florida, modeled after the Pan Pacific out in California. Anybody going to either park will see similarities to either one or to the real thing that exists in Hollywood. And those new turnstiles are now in use at the entrance of Disney California Adventure. And I think it was last week on the show, it was last week that I mentioned I started a new series of posts over at InsideTheMagic.net involving the various new signature suites at the Disneyland Hotel. Last week I had posted all about the Adventureland suite in a video where you could take a sort of virtual tour on our website and see photos of the whole suite. Well, now this week I've posted number 2 from that suite series, and it is the Big Thunder Suite. Another really excellent suite, very expensive, thousands per night. But I had a chance to walk through there and really enjoy it, ring the doorbell, do some of the interactive features, and check it all out. So if you want to see all of that, head on over to InsideTheMagic.net to see the video and the photos. Now, some of the biggest news this week was actually not necessarily Disney related, but it was Harry Potter. Harry Potter certainly is something bigger than theme parks. It's a worldwide phenomenon, and at Universal Orlando, of course, they have the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and they did something very special for any fans who were seeing the midnight screening of the final movie, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, at Universal City Walk. Those who were in the midnight screening, about 3,000 people or so, were all invited to access the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Islands of Adventure right after the film for free for 2 hours, from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. Needless to say, many were very, very excited. They rolled out the red carpet, welcoming everybody into the Wizarding World. Not all the rides were up and running, and there wasn't free butterbeer or anything like that, but just to be in there right after watching the final Harry Potter film sounds like a great experience, and you can head on over to the website, our website, to see some video and pictures of all of the excited fans who were thrilled to be living some Harry Potter after watching the film. And on a related note, anybody who is craving a few of the Harry Potter treats can now place an order online, because Universal has added to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter online store a couple of items from their Honeyduke store, including a 4-pack of pumpkin juice for about $24 and a 4-pack of chocolate frogs for about $50. And actually, if you get the 4 chocolate frogs online, you're guaranteed to get all 4 of the collectible lenticular cards that show the 4 founders of Hogwarts, which, if you were to go to the Wizarding World in person, you just have to get lucky, basically, and pick them out as you go through all of the packs. It's a little bit more expensive to get them online, but it may be worth it if you're after all of those cards. Unfortunately, Universal is not selling butterbeer in the online store. Let's talk one of my favorite subjects here for just a moment. I have a feeling we'll be talking about this more and more in the coming weeks, and that is Halloween. For the first time in Hallow Scream event history, Busch Gardens Tampa Bay and Busch Gardens Williamsburg up in Virginia are going to feature the same theme for both of their Halloween events. They're calling it the Dark Side of the Gardens. And in Tampa, it's going to feature zombies. In Williamsburg, it's going to feature some werewolves and scarecrows and some evil pumpkins and all that good Halloween kind of stuff. Strangely enough, the event this year ends on October 29th, 2 days before Halloween. Seems odd to end a Halloween event 2 days before Halloween, but anyway, certainly plenty of time to enjoy it, and I am looking forward to seeing what Hallow Scream has to offer this year, joining up with both Busch Gardens theme parks. Busch Gardens also made an interesting announcement this week following on the heels of Disney saying that they were canceling Walt Disney World's Grad Night from now on. As of this year was the last year for Grad Night at Walt Disney World. Well, Busch Gardens Tampa Bay is stepping in, and next year, 2012, they're going to be hosting their first ever 12th grade Grad Night. So high school seniors are going to be invited to come ride the roller coasters, hear DJs, and they will have some headline entertainment as well, much like Disney did, except they have not announced that headline entertainment quite yet. It's going to take place on Friday, April 22nd and Saturday, April 28th, so not quite as many weekends as Disney was holding, but I'm sure if it's successful, Busch Gardens will probably do more in the future. It's going to cost $55 a head plus tax in order to attend Busch Gardens Grad Night. Now, coming up this week, a very exciting event out in San Diego is the San Diego Comic-Con, filled with not only comics, but also plenty of TV and movies and pop culture and collectibles and all that sort of thing, and I'm going to be heading out there for the very first time. I've been wanting to go for so many years, and I'm sure going to have a whole lot of fun, so please do check InsideTheMagic.net and follow us on Twitter and on Facebook for all of the latest. I've lined up quite a few interviews throughout the 4 days of the Comic-Con. Some are Disney-related, some are not Disney-related, but they're still fun, and I'll be attending a lot of the panels, walking around the floor, certainly posting lots of photos and videos and updates, and should be a blast. But even though Walt Disney Studios is not going to have a big Hall H presentation this year, likely because of the D23 Expo coming up in August, where they're going to save everything for that, there are still quite a few Disney-related things to be found throughout San Diego Comic-Con, and one of them is from Boom Studios, who's going to offer some exclusive variations on their comics at Comic-Con, and one is really a lot of fun. It's a copy of DuckTales #1 in an 8-bit variant of the cover, and the cover basically looks like the old Nintendo 8-bit DuckTales game with Scrooge jumping and grabbing a gem on the cover. A lot of fun. There's only going to be 500 of those, so I hope I get my hands on one of those, and it's also going to be signed by the writer of the comic and Epic Mickey creator Warren Spector. Spector is going to be there in person at Comic-Con. He'll be signing the DuckTales copies in person on Thursday, July 21st from 1 to 2 p.m., again on the 22nd from 11 to 12, and on the 23rd from 12 to 1 at the Boom Studios booth. In addition, Kaboom, which is formerly Boom Kids, they're the ones who put out the Chip and Dale comic, the Darkwing Duck comic, and Tailspin. I can't even keep them all straight. Regardless, their artists are going to be there, and they're going to be creating some Get-A-Sketch covers for $20 each, in which it's sort of like a Darkwing Duck cover, except you can have whatever sketch you want on the cover. So that's a whole lot of fun. Definitely we'll be heading on over there to see all of that while I'm at the convention. Also at the convention, a few weeks ago on show 317, we featured here on the show an interview with Joe Maddalena from Profiles in History. We talked to him about the Hollywood auction that was upcoming at the time. It has now been completed, featuring many pieces of Disney history throughout decades of Disney history. Well, they're going to have a booth at Comic-Con as well, and they're going to have a mini Back to the Future museum there, including a screen-used DeLorean time machine from Back to the Future 3. There are very few of these screen-used DeLoreans from the films in existence anymore, so it'll be exciting to see that, along with some other props, and there'll be ticket sales to take a picture with the DeLorean, and those tickets will go to benefit the Michael J. Fox Foundation. So hopefully I'll have a chance to catch up with Joe Maddalena, see how the Hollywood auction went, and maybe I'll have a chance to share that in the coming weeks here on the show. And speaking of movies, this week, the first trailer was released online for Disney's John Carter. That's a movie directed by Andrew Stanton of Pixar fame, classic novel by Edgar Rice Burroughs. You can head on over to InsideTheMagic.net for that trailer. And I have a feeling over at the big Walt Disney Studios presentation at the D23 Expo next month, we're going to see much, much more from John Carter. Of course, one of the most recent and biggest Disney films was Pirates of the Caribbean 4 on Stranger Tides, and that film was announced that that film this week will be coming out on Blu-ray 3D, Blu-ray, and movie download on October 18th. In fact, Disney also announced there will be an Ultimate Fan Edition, a 15-disc 4-movie collection available. That's going to be a whopping $170. But if you've already owned the other 3 films, or just the ones that you want to own, and you only need to get this 4th film, you can still look forward to seeing plenty of bonus features that will include Disney's second screen technology, bloopers of the Caribbean, audio commentary by the director, some Lego animated shorts, Captain Jack's Brick Tales. That should be a lot of fun, and a whole bunch of other bonus features. So look for that to hit home on October 18th, and you can pre-order it now at Amazon for delivery right when it comes out. And, of course, Johnny Depp, the star of the Pirates of the Caribbean series, is no stranger to Disney films, and it looks like he may be taking on a couple more Disney projects just to add to his long list of movies. Apparently, Depp is interested in playing Carl Kolchak of The Night Stalker. It's an old show that starred Darren McGavin years ago, a fun sort of detective-ish story, but with a good sense of humor. TV recently, I forget which station it was on, recently tried to resurrect that show. Didn't do a very good job of it. Well, now Johnny Depp feels that he should be the one to play Carl Kolchak in this new version movie, feature-length film of The Night Stalker. And if that comes to be, I'm sure it will be very, very entertaining. And in addition, Depp is also interested in participating in a historical drama about Paul Revere's famous ride, and both of those would be for Disney. So we'll have to watch and see how many more films Johnny Depp could possibly work on for Disney, for Walt Disney Studios. One more little bit of zany news this week, and this one is a whole lot of fun, actually. Disney Fun in Utah, where some builders decided they wanted to recreate the famous house from Disney Pixar's film Up. That is Carl's house from the film. It's near Salt Lake City, Utah, part of a parade of homes. It's a 2,800 square foot home. It's been officially approved by Disney. Disney didn't build it, but they did give it the okay and stamp of approval, and it's just incredible. I believe in the coming weeks it will be open for some tours and to check it out, and hopefully we'll be able to see a little bit more in and around the house, but it's just a spot-on recreation, at least on the outside, and a bit of the inspiration on the inside of what that house looked like in the film Up. So anybody in the Salt Lake City area in Utah should definitely give that a shot. Go by, check it out. I certainly would. Looks like a whole lot of fun. And that's about it for news this week. Of course, you can always head to InsideTheMagic.net to check out the show notes for each week's show. You can find links to photos and videos and all the stories that we talk about here. And yeah, so that'll do it for your news from around the world this week. And this week's tip is a follow-up from a couple of weeks ago. It comes in from Michael, who writes, another tip for summer rainy days, of which there are many. I packed several large Ziploc storage bags. I was able to stow my DSLR camera, lens, and flash in 2 of these bags, and even used a merchandise bag to cover the larger canvas bag I used to carry my equipment, an extra rain poncho, umbrella. During the torrential downpour recently, I managed to keep everything, including myself, dry and enjoy the cooler temperatures and shorter wait times resulting from the rainy day. Hope this helps save someone from a soggy soaking. Well, definitely great tip. Certainly important. I usually carry a garbage bag or a Ziploc or something like that to keep my equipment dry. It's also could be good just to duck into a store real quick and ask them for a merchandise bag. They're happy to give you one to cover it up. And I've even seen people walking around in the parks using merchandise bags as ponchos, which is a little bit goofy looking. I've seen people strap them to their shoes and put them on their head and wear them over their body, some of the really big bags. And yeah, I mean, you basically turn into a walking advertisement for Disney at that point. But then again, I guess the ponchos are kind of the same way with the big Mickey Mouse on the back. Regardless, it's a good way, as you said, to keep cool and enjoy the shorter wait time when people are running and scurrying from the rain. You can still get in line and have a good time. Everyone else out there, send your tips into tips@insidethemagic.net. And before we get to the main features on this week's show, I do want to put in a quick word about Lanyard Lab. If you have a business that you'd like to promote, or perhaps you're going to go to a convention, or you're around a school or a church, you need to wear name tags around your neck, then custom lanyards are a great way to do it, because you not only are wearing your name tag, but you can also customize the way the lanyard itself looks, and you can accomplish that over at our website at lanyardlab.com. You can fill in all your details on our quick and easy price quote form. Submit that to us. We'll shoot you back a price quote along with a proof showing you exactly what your design will look like, and then you can place your order online. Can't get any easier than that, so I do encourage you to check it out over at lanyardlab.com.
Inside the Magic is proud to welcome you to the Great Movie Review.
Honey, 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 honey.
You might have a good idea of what movie I'm about to review here on the show this week if you just think what Disney character could possibly be obsessing about honey. Well, yeah, it's definitely Winnie the Pooh, and I saw the movie this week. It just hit the U.S. It's been out actually overseas for quite a while, but it's just come to the United States, and I caught it this week. Really, really entertaining movie. It's funny. Winnie the Pooh, of course, everybody is really familiar with the Pooh stories over the years. I mean, A.A. Milne's original Winnie the Pooh stories date back to the 1920s when he first published them. Decades and decades of Winnie the Pooh, and this new film, everything is really familiar about it. It's the same old stories that you've heard. It's nothing new about the actual stories themselves. However, it is a much a more updated version. It looks great. It sounds great. The music's a lot of fun, and just overall, it was a good movie, kind of a twist on the classic tales of A.A. Milne and Winnie the Pooh. It's updated with crisp, high-definition visuals and stylized music, but it still feels, makes you feel kind of warm and fuzzy inside while watching it. It just feels like, Winnie the Pooh. Now, if you're familiar with Winnie the Pooh stories at all, there's nothing really to spoil about this film. I mean, Eeyore loses his tail. That's not a new story. Eeyore has lost his tail a number of times throughout the years, and once again, the gang in the 100-Acre Wood, Winnie the Pooh, and Owl, and of course Eeyore, and Tigger, and Rabbit, and Piglet, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. They're all there, and they're helping Eeyore find his lost tail. And in the process, Disney has taken that story and combined it with another of A.A. Milne's many Winnie the Pooh stories about a misread note from Christopher Robin, and that sends them on sort of a hunt for this ferocious creature as a result of their sort of misunderstanding. And the two of those stories are intertwined throughout about the 67-minute film, I believe, and they really do a nice job of making these old stories feel new and fresh and contemporary, but without butchering them. It still has a really great classic feel. What's really nice about the way this Winnie the Pooh movie, this new Winnie the Pooh film comes off, is that the whole film kind of relies on the notion of that all the characters and the narrator know that they're in a movie. Well, know that they're in a story. It's all centered visually around the idea of being in a storybook. The camera will zoom out and you'll see words and you'll see paragraphs and sentences, and characters will even trip over the words and stand on them, and the words will move out of the way, and you can sort of read along occasionally with what the narrator is saying, and it just it works very, very well. John Cleese of Monty Python fame is the narrator, and he does a great job at just being this upbeat British narrator to tell the story throughout, and it just kind of fits together in this nice, simple, but really neat package. I mean, simple is definitely the word to use when talking about this Winnie the Pooh movie. There's nothing in depth. There's nothing, spectacular. You're not going to go out and say, wow, this is the best film I've ever seen, but it's not a bad film by any means. Definitely very entertaining. In the theater that I saw it in, it was a press screening of the movie, and in there was a number of small children that people had brought with them, and the children got the biggest laughs in the film from a lot of the physical comedy, characters bumping into each other and tripping over stuff and that kind of thing, which is normal for young kids to laugh at. And also the runtime, actually I think it was like 69 minutes, I think was the runtime of the film, and that was a good length for these young children to really appreciate, and enjoy and be enthralled in the film without losing interest. At the same time, adults watching the film could really get a kick out of kind of getting that classic feel, the hand-drawn feel. This movie was hand-drawn. It's 2D film, and just the big colors and sort of the watercolor backgrounds that were they were done on the computer this time, but they were sort of emulated very, very well, and kind of rough, sketchy lines, and adults can really enjoy it for that reason. It's, it still feels like a classic movie, even though it is new and in high definition, and just sort of reminiscing and thinking about if you were ever a Winnie the Pooh fan in the past, if you grew up with these characters, if you just enjoy it that way, adults can appreciate it for that reason. Really, the whole film felt old, and it felt old on purpose. It's supposed to not be sort of this updated, hip version of Winnie the Pooh or anything. It feels like the classic Winnie the Pooh. There were a couple of scenes with, especially some like glowing honey and that kind of thing that felt that it was animated digitally, but for the most part it felt hand-drawn and totally organic. The voice acting was really interesting in this film because a lot of the characters had new actors from recent years of Winnie the Pooh. Pooh himself, along with Tigger, were both voiced by Jim Cummings, who has been voicing both of those characters for a number of years. But Eeyore has a new voice. Bud Lucky does the voice now, whereas Peter Cullen, who we actually had on the show a few months ago, he's the voice of Optimus Prime for Transformers, is no longer the voice of Eeyore. But it definitely still sounds like Eeyore in this film, although maybe a little bit more grumbly, a little bit more gruff in the voice, but a pretty close match to how Cullen sounded. And the rest of the characters just sound spot on. Owl doesn't necessarily sound like he used to. He's voiced by Craig Ferguson now, but he definitely works in the characterization. And really, all of them, none of them, you don't ever watch the film and think, oh, that's that celebrity voice. It's not like watching, Toy Story where Woody is Tom Hanks, obviously. In this case, none of them, they just feel like the characters. They don't feel like any particular celebrity. What is really new and different and unique about this Winnie the Pooh film is the music. It's the soundtrack. Singer and actress Zooey Deschanel really, lent her vocal style, sort of a smoky sort of voice to a lot of the songs. You heard just a little bit as I was playing it a minute ago. But, here's a little bit more of actually, here's Zooey Deschanel's title song for Winnie the Pooh.
Deep in the 100-acre wood where Christopher Robin plays.
So, it doesn't sound like your traditional Winnie the Pooh. It doesn't sound like sort of the generic, catering to children kind of voice where it's a real ordinary sounding voice. At least she's got some uniqueness to the voice, and in a few different songs throughout the film feature Zooey Deschanel, and I found it to be a fairly good spin on what you're used to hearing in this type of a film. Not necessarily jiving with the classic version, the visuals, but I think it's still I think it still worked very well. But my favorite song of the film came, I don't know, maybe about a third into it. It's called the Baxen Song, and it's sung by the cast of the film. And, I don't want to give too much away if you don't know the stories and aren't familiar with it all, but it's a great sequence. It's a wonderfully animated sequence, very memorable, great artwork. It kind of takes the visual style in a whole new direction, and almost Tim Burton-like-ish, sort of. It had vaguely reminded me of Nightmare Before Christmas scene, although obviously not as dark. It was very lively, but it's still sort of centered around villains and that sort of thing, and it was just a lot of fun, a really, really great sequence from the film. So very much enjoyable there. Overall pacing of the film, there were a couple of points in the 69 minutes that it ran that it felt like it was dragging just a little bit, but for the most part the pace was very good. It moved along, the story moved along, and I enjoyed just seeing how the story progressed, and it was short, and it was cute, and it was fun, and it was simple. Now, in addition to seeing Winnie the Pooh, you can also catch a new short film called The Ballad of Nessie, which tells an origin tale of the Loch Ness Monster, which, of course, is something that pretty much everybody is familiar with the concept of the Loch Ness Monster, but not necessarily in this manner. Now, this is a short film that's been in the making for quite a long time. Apparently, years and years ago was the original concept for this, and now it finally has come to fruition as a 2D hand-drawn animated film, really styled as an old style of Disney animation. It almost looks like it was made maybe 30 years ago, and it's an entertaining short. I wouldn't say it was as good as Pixar's short films, but it was still entertaining and offered a few laughs, and certainly got the audience prepared, the viewers prepared to see what the upcoming Winnie the Pooh that followed from there. Now, does this mean that Disney is really truly back in the world of 2D and hand-drawn animation? They started with Princess and the Frog at the end of 2009. That came out and did okay at the box office, didn't blow everybody away. Now you've got Winnie the Pooh that hit the theaters on the same weekend as the last Harry Potter film. Well, there's no chance anything could go up against Harry Potter. It broke records this weekend. It was the biggest opening, Harry Potter was, the biggest opening ever weekend, and so there's no way any film could go up with that. So why not put something like Winnie the Pooh up against it, where it's really two totally different audiences? I'm not sure how well Winnie the Pooh did this weekend, and I'm not sure how well it will do at the box office, but this is just kind of one of those films that perhaps box office numbers don't necessarily matter about. I mean, as I said, it's been out internationally for quite a long time. It launched in other countries. It was released in other countries before the United States, which is a little bit different than usual. And, this is one of those films that it'll just kind of have legs, I think, in the home video market. I think anybody who's a fan of Winnie the Pooh or wants to introduce their children to Winnie the Pooh will really have a chance to go get this on DVD and show them, and it'll be a movie certainly that children can watch over and over and over. So for that reason, it's definitely a successful film. I'm not sure it's going to be a great financial success at the box office, but we'll just have to wait and see of that. Overall, I did enjoy Winnie the Pooh very much. Am I personally going to go rush out and get it when it comes home? I don't know that I would do that. It's not a film that I'm not a big Winnie the Pooh fan to begin with, but anybody who is a fan of these characters will definitely enjoy this film. It's a perfect version of a Winnie the Pooh film that I think any Disney fan, Winnie the Pooh fan will certainly enjoy, and I do recommend you see it. There you go, my review of the new Winnie the Pooh in theaters now. And now, as I promised earlier, I am going to turn the microphone on over to Skipper Ben, as he is going to be telling you a bit more about this thing called Splitsville.
Hello everyone, Skipper Ben here, and it's time for another edition of Cruising the World. Well, I'm riding solo this week, and that's okay because this topic is pretty near and dear to my heart, and I don't want to risk the chance of crying in front of Princess Lisa because she tends to make fun of me and not let me forget about it when I do that in front of her. So we're just going to let her stay off to the side this week, and I'm going to discuss the announcement that Disney has found a new permanent replacement for the Virgin Records Megastore. If you're over on InsideTheMagic.net earlier this week, you had seen the story that Ricky put out there that Disney has announced that Ride Makers will be leaving and in will be coming Splitsville. You might be asking yourself, what is Splitsville? Well, I can tell you because for the last year and a half, I've lived next to a Splitsville about 5 minutes from my house here in North Texas. But if you head over to the Splitsville official website, you might notice that there is no longer a North Texas location listed. And that's because about a month ago, our Splitsville closed down. So it kind of gives me some mixed feelings on this announcement by Disney. I've been to Splitsville before. I think there are some wonderful things about it. I also think there are some things that are major mistakes and flaws. And personally, if they don't learn from the mistakes that happened here, I don't think the place will succeed in downtown Disney, but I do hope it does because, like I said, it is a fun concept. I've been over there several times, and what it is just a really upscale bowling alley. It's kind of along the lines of like a Lucky Strikes out in Los Angeles that's kind of spread out across the country now. Just the upscale, trendy bar, restaurant, bowling alley type places. It's not just your typical bowling alley where you've got 100 lanes and you got a smoky bar and you got a smoky pool hall and some old arcade games and pitchers of beer going everywhere. It's not like that. This when you walk in, you know you're in like a fine establishment, and that's something that's really cool with it. It's very clean, very trendy. We had a blast whenever we go over there for sure. And the nice part was the prices really were not out of line compared to what you would go at a normal bowling alley. So you weren't really paying for the extra upscale experience. It was just a custom and, part of what you should expect when you went there. And the way Splitsville is set up, it's like I said, it's not like where you have, 50 to 100 bowling lanes, one by one next to each other, and you just go to a desk and go bowling like you would at a normal bowling alley. And the way Splitsville is set up, it's like I said, it's not like where you have 50 to 100 bowling lanes, one by one next to each other, and you just go to a desk and go bowling like you would at a normal bowling alley. And the way Splitsville is set up, it's like I said, it's not like where you have 50 to 100 bowling lanes, one by one next to each other, and you just go to a desk and go bowling like you would at a normal bowling alley. What they do is they divide the bowling lanes into smaller sections. So you'll find 5 to 10 lanes gathered in one spot of the building. You'll find another 5 to 10 lanes gathered in another spot of the building. You'll find tables surrounding the lanes where if you're not bowling, you can sit back there and enjoy dinner and food and drinks while you're bowling. So it's not like you just have a little bench and bowl your ball, sit on the bench, and go back and forth like that. They do make it to a more, like I said again, you're going to keep going back to the elegant experience because that's really what it is. It's taking the old thought of the bowling alley and throwing it out the window and going with this new setup. So, in like the one here in North Texas, it had, if I think back, 5 separate distinct areas that were the bowling sections, and in between them, you would have small cocktail bars. You would have seating areas for just if you wanted to go in and eat and not bowl or do anything like that. You could just go in there and eat, stuff like that. The little party banquet areas. The one here featured, and it wasn't in a spot that's nearly as big as the Virgin Records Megastore building, but the one here had 4 different bars that were mixed in between all the lanes. Now, I don't know how the setup's going to be at Downtown Disney. I would imagine it's going to be somewhat similar to that, but the coolest thing by far of our Splitsville, and again, based on the concept art that they've shown, you can't see this, but with the way Disney weather is out there in Orlando, look at that. I called it Disney weather. Everything's Disney in Orlando, isn't it? The way the weather is in Orlando, I would imagine they would try to take advantage of this, but at our Splitsville, we had 2 lanes of bowling that were outdoors. It was covered, but you could bowl outside, and it was a really neat experience, especially at night, to just kind of drive by and you see people bowling down the illuminated lanes in the evening. Really, really, really cool. And our weather here, albeit it's hotter here during the summer than it is in Orlando, but during the fall, winter, and spring, we have pretty similar weather to where you can spend a lot of time outside. I would think that they would take advantage of that at Downtown Disney's location because it is a big draw, especially if they were to put it out there to where people walked by it as they're going through all the shopping down there. It's something that's going to catch people's eye and draw them in. Now, like I said, ours was only open for probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years before it recently closed down. And there's a huge reason why it closed down. And unfortunately, I think it might be the same reason that there could be some struggles in the downtown Disney location unless they change it. And what the problem is, during the day, families are more than welcome to go to this place. Even though it is a kind of a, they don't shy away from the bar and the alcohol whatsoever. You go there, you realize people will probably be drinking around you, but every time I've gone, there was never any situations where you had to worry about, putting your family in danger by any means. It's not like going to a bar, per se. But during the day, very family friendly. You're more than welcome to go. But at night, things change after 8 o'clock. I think that was the time they changed over here in Dallas. Don't know what the time change might be out there in Orlando. But after 8 o'clock, families were discouraged from coming in. It turned to 21 and over. And you were also restricted on what kind of clothes you could wear into the place. Like I said, trendy is the word when it comes to this bowling alley. And shorts and t-shirts and sneakers, that didn't cut the mustard to get in. You had to wear nice clothes. You were in slacks. You were in collared shirts. Women had to dress nice. There was this feeling that you were going almost like to a nightclub to go bowling. And that's what ultimately killed Splitsville here in North Texas. The spot that it was located, right next to a Dave & Buster's, right next to a brand new, very high-end shopping. It was actually part of a very new high-end shopping center that is literally just packed with cars every night, and especially on weekends. It's miserable just trying to find a parking spot. Every restaurant that's over there has a minimum of an hour wait every weekend. During the week, you're looking at a half hour, so there's no shortage of people going to this area, kind of like you're going to have at Downtown Disney, but not everybody wants to get dressed up when they go bowling. And when you're at Disney World, after a long day in the parks, I don't know how many, especially having a lot of families also that have kids under 21, I don't know how many people are going to want to go back to their room, get showered up and cleaned up, and put on nice clothes to go bowling. That was a huge issue here. I have a feeling it's going to be a huge issue there. Hopefully, though, they learn from their mistakes and can make this place, a bit more Disney-friendly. You can still have the nice, elegant look to it. You can have the trendiness to it. You can make it a really cool destination piece. I think it could be a wonderful addition to Downtown Disney. But they got to look at the drawing board and make sure they customize the place and make it work with the average Disney family that's going in on a vacation, because at the end of the day, that's who they're going to be catering to. That's going to be their main clientele. And if they're not drawing those people in, you might find a building needing another tenant not too far from now. So I'm glad that they finally decided to put something in there. I think Rides Makers is cool, but it does not need that size of a building. Hopefully they find a new spot for that. But it is cool that they're pumping some life in down there. Hyperion Wharf, we all know, is nowhere to be seen right now. I guess that's the best way to put it. Hopefully we'll know a little bit more D23. But it seems like that's been put on the back burner for a little bit. But while they're still deciding exactly what they want to do with Hyperion Wharf, at least we're knowing we're going to get another concept down there and have another fun place that we can go on our Disney trips. Now, the part of me that might cry a little bit, though, is I do have a very, very fond spot for the Virgin Records Megastore building. And I know you might be thinking to yourself, that's a really weird thing to have an attachment to, but you got to remember, if you've listened to the show in the past, that was my hangout during my college program days. I loved going to Virgin Records. I went probably 4 or 5 times a week minimum. I would, on my nights off, especially, when I didn't want to go to a park, but I didn't want to just go sit in my room all night. That was one of those places that stayed open late every night, and I would go down there and, listen to music, I thought the little rotunda area at the top of the escalator with the magazines and the benches was just awesome. As weird as that sounds, I would go there and spend hours just looking at books and magazines and listening to the music down the wall with all the headphones, so you could listen to the, they had like the top 50 selling albums at the time, all where you could test them out and stuff. And I would go there for special events. I remember, one of my favorite experiences all time was going back in the little classical music section. The little space back behind the middle of the two escalators. I was back there with about 30 other people for a private performance with Five for Fighting. I just so happened to stumble upon it one day. Noticed they were there. I love Five for Fighting. And, here I am with 30 people listening to them play about 7 songs for us. It was just absolutely awesome. And like I said, went there all the time. This was before, Best Buy was real big and things like that. I didn't have a car, so every Tuesday, if there was a new CD out that came out that I wanted, I had to go to Virgin Records to get it. If there was a new book release, I had to go to Virgin Records to get it. When I was working at Muppets in the back corner when we were in the theater, while the movie was going on, I would always take my little CD player, I'd take a little flashlight, and I'd read a book or listen to believe it or not, I would listen to a CD on a portable CD player back in the day. Good Lord. I can't even imagine what it'd be like if I worked there now with a iPhone and movies and thousands of songs. But back then, I'd have my CD with 12 songs on it, and the records, the records and albums that came out during those summers that I worked there, I swear to you, I can sing word for word every song on those albums, because those were the only 12 songs I could listen to at that given time when I worked that spot at Muppets. So there was just so much about that building, and I loved it when they decided to put Rise Makers in there. And on our last couple visits, I've just gone in there so I could get the feeling for the building again, because while they put the new shop in there, you could still get the whole feel of what Virgin Records used to be like. And it was a hopping place back in the day, man. It was really a lot of fun. Shortly after the one debuted down there, they did open one up here in Dallas. And believe it or not, I went there, all the time as well, but it just was not the same as the one at Downtown Disney. So I am very, very, very happy to see that there's going to be a new attraction going in down there. I will be upset that the whole layout of my old Virgin Records will be shot. It'll be gone. It won't be there at all anymore when they go in and do the remodel of this building. But in the long run, it's better off to have a really cool new attraction in there than to have the memories that I might have had that I'm sure a lot of people didn't share or don't share the same thoughts that I have of the place. So hopefully, though, that they have a successful launch there with Splitsville. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Give it a shot for sure when you go out there and it opens. It is definitely a fun place to go. Just know, if you don't want to get dressed up for it, go there early in the afternoon one day and go bowl a 300 if you got a chance. So that's going to do it for this week. Before I go, I want to update you guys on something. I know, during the basketball playoffs of my work, I was pretty hit or miss. And once the season wrapped up, I told you guys we're going to be on here all the time now, much more regular schedule. Well, that could be in jeopardy a little bit. If you've been on our Facebook pages, mine and Princess Lisa, you'll might have noticed that the doctor has set a date that we're having kiddo number 2. It's now official. On August 13th, we're going to have the second kid. And just so you know, when that comes around, we could be here some weeks, might not be here other weeks. We'll have to kind of play it by ear, because I know how crazy it is with one kid. And I'm already sitting here, my head's, baffled on what it's going to be like with 2 kids. So, if you please understand, be a little patient with us when that date rolls around. And, we might not be around for a couple weeks, but once we get into our routine, we'll get back on a normal, regular schedule with you guys here on the show. We'll be here for the next couple weeks leading up to that date, so don't worry about that. But it's after the August 13th date. We could have a few breaks here on Inside the Magic's Cruising the World, but when we get back, we'll have lots to talk about, because we are already planning our first trip with the new kiddo. And so lots of planning ideas, lots of thoughts on that, and lots of differing opinions between myself and Princess Lisa that hopefully you guys can help us come to some conclusions on and start planning out our first trip with 2 kids to Walt Disney World. So that's going to do it this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this segment. And for now, it's back to you, Ricky.
Thanks very much, Skipper Ben, for all the great information about Splitsville. It's something I'm actually looking forward to a lot. I'm not a huge bowling fan, but I do enjoy it every once in a while, and it sounds like in this environment, if done right and appropriate for Walt Disney World, it'll really work out for the better. I don't think having a 21 and over restriction at night is going to work for Walt Disney World. I don't think having a dress code at night is going to work for Walt Disney World. You know, most people come to a Disney park and dress like a complete slob. It's t-shirt and jeans, and that's what they're going to be doing at night too. They're going to go see a movie, they're going to go to a restaurant, and then they're going to go to Splitsville and want to have some fun. As you said, nobody is going to want to go back to their hotel room just to change to go bowling or play some pool or any of that. Certainly that type of environment existed when Pleasure Island's clubs were around. People did get dressed up and put on fancy shoes and outfits and get all dolled up and, want to go to the dance club. But I think going to somewhere on the west side of downtown Disney, right near a movie theater and the casual restaurants, is a bit different. I don't know if people are going to make the connection to having to dress up to go bowling. But who knows? Maybe it'll work out. Personally, since I don't have any kids and I'm usually not at Walt Disney World with any kids, I would love to have a kids-free environment at night, but I'm not dressing up. If there's a dress code, I'm just simply not going to go there. I almost never, ever dress up for anything. So if I can't get in my t-shirt, that's just not going to happen for me. So we'll see how that goes, and, it's something that's at least it's some sort of entertainment. I'm with you on wanting to hang out in Virgin Megastore. I used to do that all the time, but then again, the prices were really high and I never bought anything there, so that's why that is not there anymore, and hopefully Splitsville will be around and will do well at Walt Disney World.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic listener feedback.
And here we are near the end of the show. Got a few emails and a voice message to get through real quick, but somebody in the chat room actually reminded me of something related to Splitsville. There was an announcement within the last, year or 2 years that a big professional 100-lane bowling facility would be going to the wide world of sports at Walt Disney World, and it kind of died, that project, for a while when I guess the sponsor of it all backed out. But I recently read that it is not totally dead, that apparently it's still in the works for perhaps 2015 when that might open. Now, of course, that's totally different than what Splitsville is going to be. Splitsville is for your average person just looking to have a little bit of fun, eat some food, and go bowling, whereas this other facility at Wide World of Sports was going to be for professional bowlers and teams and kids and any kind of somebody who's a really aspiring bowler to go and actually practice and perform and do tournaments and that sort of thing. But that is not happening anytime soon. So bowling at Walt Disney World certainly is going to show up in the form of Splitsville a lot sooner than that. So now let's get to the email. This is a really great one from Emily, who this is almost enough to be put into sort of a segment unto itself. It's actually a review of the new Aladdin stage show that just recently opened up in Seattle. So Emily writes, I went to go see Aladdin, the new stage musical, on July 13th at the Fifth Avenue Theater in Seattle. It was wonderful. I never saw the show at California Adventure, but if it's anything like this show, I'll be going the next time I'm in California. The show starts out with projections of camels on the backdrop. These projections continue throughout the show and transition from scene to scene. I personally found these to be distracting and unnecessary. The big opening number, Arabian Nights, is indeed a big number filled with dancing and beautiful costumes. The number also introduces 3 new characters, Babkak, maybe, Omar, and Kasim. We later learned that these 3 guys and Aladdin are best friends with a band called the Street Rats. Their characters turned out to be my favorite part of the whole musical, and as they provided comical relief and served as transitions. The next two songs are normal Aladdin, One Jump Ahead, and Proud of Your Boy. They aren't too special, but Adam Jacobs' Aladdin does them justice. The next number is Call Me a Princess, which is the only new addition I didn't like. The jazzy style didn't fit well with the rest of the score. Courtney Reed as Jasmine does her best and does do very well. We then meet Jafar, played wonderfully by Jonathan Freeman, who was the original voice of Jafar, and Iago. Iago in the musical is very different from the movie. He is perky and spunky and terrific. The genie, played by James Iglehart, steals the show with his great, big, fantastic rendition of Friend Like Me. The second act continues with the elaborate costumes and dancing. The trio of Aladdin's friends storm the palace to try to rescue Aladdin from the dungeon in my favorite number, High Adventure. The show ends predictably, but is satisfying. Overall, I would recommend anyone in the area to go see Aladdin. I was smiling the minute the show started to when I went to bed. The new additions keep things interesting and, for the most part, are great. I would tell anyone to bring binoculars so they can see the wonderful and gorgeous costumes in full detail. The catchy songs have been stuck in my head for days, and that's a good thing for once. Excellent. Thanks very much, Emily, for that review. Sounds like you had a really good time. It's nice that you liked it. Sounds like most of the songs that were, there's not necessarily new. I mean, they're new to Aladdin, but they were going to be originally part of the film, the old Howard Ashman songs that he had created, but later Disney sort of took the film in a slightly different direction than how they were working, and those songs had to be cut. So it's wonderful that they had to rework those back into it, even if you didn't necessarily like all of them. It sounds like you liked most of them, and that is great to hear. Howard Ashman was certainly a talented everything that he did was wonderful, and we wouldn't have such Disney classics like Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast if it wasn't for him. And it's just too bad that he wasn't able to stick around to see all of this unfold in so many years of history as a result of his wonderful talents. But that's great. Definitely anybody out in the Seattle area, sounds like you ought to go check out this Aladdin show. Next up, an email from John from Ohio, who writes, my family and I went to Disney the first week or two of December for quite a years in a row, and it seems that recently others have caught on to this great time of year to be at Disney for the low crowds and holiday decorations. My question is, what is your recommendation for another time of year to visit Disney World with the best value of hotel pricing along with the low crowd volumes? August through October are not an option for us. Well, you know what, John, thanks very much for that email, and I think you're right. Unfortunately, the first couple of weeks of December have traditionally been the best time of year to come to Walt Disney World. Great Christmas atmosphere, lots of great music and performances and bonus things going on, and it used to be great weather and low crowds. Well, lately it hasn't been such great weather. We haven't had necessarily much cool weather at all in Florida in recent years, and more importantly for the parks, you're right, crowds are certainly starting to catch on to that being one of the best times of the year to come, and because that, it's no longer. Fortunately, right after the holiday season is still a great time to come, and it actually sometimes gets a little bit cooler after December. So early January, after New Year's has come and gone, all the way through the following couple of weeks is still a great time to come. Basically, take the dates you were going to do it in December and just bump it ahead a month, and you should be good to go with with a pretty good time of year. And it continues really all the way into February. As you start to get closer and closer to spring break season for schools, that's when it starts to get crowded again. But those first few weeks of every year are definitely a good time to go. Next email is from Mary or Marie, and she writes, on show 326, you talked about and played video from the All-American College Band at Disneyland, and it sounded like something I would be interested in doing next summer. However, when I looked at the website, it didn't appear that they have positions for the instrument I play, the clarinet in the band. Is there perhaps a similar program at Walt Disney World that has positions for clarinet players? Well, unfortunately, there is not something just like the All-American College Band out here at Walt Disney World. There are a number of music programs that will come to Walt Disney World and play. There's Magic Music Days, and schools will take their band to Walt Disney World. You'll do if you get approved, if you're good at what you do and you get approved, you can maybe march up and down Main Street and all of that sort of thing. Maybe play at Downtown Disney. There's a number of options, but really that's going to be as a group, as part of your class in school. As far as I know, there's not something just like that out here at Walt Disney World, unfortunately, where you can apply as a single individual musician to join in. So I'm sure that's not the news that you were looking for. Maybe write to Disneyland and say if for some reason they could use a clarinet player in their college band. Maybe they'll want to stick in a new instrument. You never know. And now we're going to go on over to Tracy as a voice message.
Hi, Ricky. This is Tracy from Arizona calling. I've listened to the show for a couple of years and enjoy it. I have a couple questions for you about D23 Expo coming up. My first question is regarding food. I read on the D23 website that they're not allowing you to bring in outside food or drinks. And I'm wondering if we can bring in snacks like pretzels or granola bars or things like that, and bottled water, if they would allow those things to come in. Also, I was wondering if you knew if they let you pay for the food with a credit card or if you have to have cash. And I was also wondering what the climate is like inside the convention center. Is it really cold in there? Do I need to bring a sweatshirt? Is it really uncomfortably warm with all those bodies in there? I guess it's a good excuse to buy a cool D23 Expo sweatshirt. But also I was wondering about, will they allow me to bring a camera in with me? I was wondering about my phone, but you said on a past show that for people to follow you on Twitter, so I guess they let you bring your phone in. But I didn't want them to confiscate my camera, so I was wondering about that. That's about it. Any information you have, I would appreciate it, and really enjoy your show. Oh, P.S., for those people who get nauseous on Star Tours, I get motion sickness, and I rode Star Tours at Disneyland a couple weeks ago, and I definitely felt sick. And I was in the front row where you supposedly don't feel it as much. I almost lost it about 4 times, and I got the pod race scene that everybody wants to get. I hear that's the worst one to get. So anybody out there who's motion sick, I definitely felt it. Anyway, like I said, thank you for all your hard work. Really enjoyed the show, and I look forward to hearing your answers. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks very much, Tracy, for that. Certainly loaded with some very good questions there. But first, I do want to say I'm sorry to hear that you did end up getting sick on Star Tours. That's definitely no good. I've heard of a lot of people on the new version of Star Tours having considerably less or no motion sickness. I haven't experienced that pod racing scene yet, but that's definitely too bad that you had a bad experience with that attraction. So to answer your questions about the D23 Expo, they are definitely great questions. Food, I don't remember there being any food restrictions last time, so if you read that about this time around, that could be a change, or it could be one of those things that they just don't want you to bring a feast in there. They don't, I don't remember them ever having extensive bag checks, and I doubt they're going to make you throw away granola bars and that kind of thing. The experience of being at the D23 Expo, certainly an all-day thing. You're going to need to eat, you're going to need to drink, and if you need to bring in a bottle of water or some snacks, I really don't think they're going to have a problem with that. I'm sure they just don't want you to go across the street, pick up a full-blown meal at a restaurant and come munching away, through while walking around the convention floor or in one of the panels. That just wouldn't work out. There is definitely food available in the convention center, and unlike a lot of convention centers I've been to where the food is way overpriced and terrible, I actually had a pretty good experience with the food that was available at the D23 Expo at the Anaheim Convention Center last time. There's a sandwich place sort of near the main arena that has a very reasonable, it's still expensive, but reasonably priced sandwiches, and they're freshly prepared, and they're actually pretty good. I never got a chance to eat some of the other foods that I had seen some other people eating, but it seemed like the general consensus was that it may be a few bucks more than you want to pay, but that the food you'll find there in the convention center is actually not too bad. So you might not be all that disappointed. As far as using credit cards, in the main sort of restaurant areas, like that sandwich shop that I just mentioned, you could definitely use a credit card for that. There are some booths set up, individual food sort of cart things throughout, and I'm not 100% sure as to whether those would take credit cards or not, but I'm guessing they would. There is Wi-Fi, available throughout the whole thing, so I have a feeling they would be linked with their credit card machines, but I'm not 100% sure there. I don't seem to remember ever paying cash for anything while I was there. The climate inside, very, very comfortable. I don't remember ever being overheated, hot, cold, really anything at all. And there were a lot of people there for the D23 Expo last time, and I never really had a problem with temperature. I was, there for 4 days, all day, and in the arena or over in the convention floor or any of the areas there, I felt quite comfortable. So you don't have to worry about that. Now, your last question, very, very good question about phones and cameras. This was a huge sticking point that a lot of people were really disappointed with last time at the D23 Expo because of sort of the exclusive nature of some of the presentations Disney is putting on. There are especially in the main arena, there are some presentations where most likely, almost definitely, Disney will be having some severe security restrictions on bringing phones or cameras inside. It was to the point last time where, for instance, the Walt Disney Studios presentation, where they were having a lot of celebrities coming out, a lot of exclusive clips being premiered for the first time, and a lot of surprises. Disney did not want a single recording device to be entering that area, that arena. So they had a security checkpoint where you had to empty your pockets, empty your bags, empty everything. They would seal it up in Ziploc bags, put your name on it, and put it off to the side, and then when you came out, they would give it back to you. It created very long lines. It was a big mess, and as I said, people were not too thrilled about all of that. Now, that's not for all of them. The Parks and Resorts presentation photography was totally allowed, as was recording, and so they just let everybody in with cameras for that. But for a lot of them, I can't remember specifically which ones. There were some major camera restrictions and phone restrictions and recording devices in general. So you will have to be aware of that anytime you're going to go to any panel. Plan ahead, stand in line, be aware that you may be asked to part with your electronic devices. So hopefully that answers some of your questions. And regardless of all of that, you will definitely have fun. D23 Expo is a great time. Just a few more emails here before we wrap up this week's show. Here's a pair of emails related to, we've recently been talking about the World of Color meal options, and I feel like this is a topic that we kind of go around and around on in the show. I know we've talked about it on the past, and then I forget advice, or Disney changes menus, or Disney changes availability, and now we're talking about it again. So, for the latest round of advice for purchasing World of Color dinner packages, Andy writes in and says, just finished the most recent Inside the Magic. Someone asked about World of Color dining options. You had been to Ariel's Grotto, but not the others. I have had the others, but not Ariel's Grotto. My wife and I ate at the Wine Country Trattoria for dinner prior to the first open to the public viewing of World of Color last year. This Napa Valley-style restaurant is located right near the Blue Sky Cellar. It has excellent food and excellent wine. We had a yummy bruschetta, or bruschetta, and fresh salad for appetizer. I remember my braised lamb was fall-apart tender. We finished our meals off with tiramisu and panna cotta. The food is a mix of Mediterranean, Italian, and Californian styles. It was a great meal. We went out in February. We went with the more economical picnic meals. There are 4 choices plus 2 children's choices. We opted for the American meal, which features cold fried chicken. My wife had the European antipasto, which was meats and cheeses. They also have a Mediterranean vegetarian selection and an Asian meal. Meals come with a drink. The beauty of these is that you can pick them up anytime after 11:30 a.m. up to 1 hour before showtime at your convenience. They're packed in a way that you could take them anywhere you find a comfy spot. We had ours for a late lunch. Whether or not you believe the pictures on the website look appetizing, they are rather tasty, just the right size meals. The picnic meals need to be purchased online a day before the show date. You can purchase at the pickup locations at the Sonoma Terrace the day of the show, but there's no guarantee they'll have meals for purchase. For Ariel's Grotto and Wine Country Trattoria, the reservations can be made by calling Disneyland Dining or on a limited basis on the day of the show. And Ty also writes in a similar email on podcast 327. You talked about World of Color meal packages. The cheaper alternative is the picnic meal. My family and I tried these during our first Disneyland California adventure trip last month, and they are surprisingly good. We tried the Mediterranean Antipasto, Taste of Asia, and Junior All-American, and all were tasty and high quality. Each meal is $16, comes with reserved seating at World of Color and a souvenir reusable tote bag. We didn't have to worry about World of Color fast passes and had a great reserved section. And while on our trip, we stayed at the Grand Californian based on your review, and we weren't disappointed. Being able to walk directly into California Adventure was a unique experience that was worth the cost. So Andy and Ty, thanks very much for the added information there. The picnic meal for $16 definitely sounds like a great way to go if you don't want to deal with that whole headache of the World of Color fast passes. And I'm glad to hear that the food in those are quite good. In fact, I'm very hungry after reading all of your descriptions, particularly the food there from the Wine Country Trattoria, which I have never eaten at. I kind of was looking and peeking at it last time I was at California Adventure, but didn't go in there. Maybe I'll have to make sure to check that out next time. And let's see. Actually, I thought there was another email, but that is actually it. So we'll wrap it up there. That's it for listener feedback this week.
There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
And now we are wrapping up show 328 of Inside the Magic, just 2 minutes past midnight here on the East Coast, so it's not quite Sunday anymore. We've moved on into Monday, but in all the other coasts, or all the other time zones, it's still Sunday. Not that any of that particularly matters. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed all of our fun for this week's show. Lots of news, surprising amount of new announcements and details, as well as great knowledge of Splitsville from Skipper Ben, who had been there. Sounds like that's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully you enjoyed my review of Winnie the Pooh, which I do recommend you head out and see. It was a fun and enjoyable movie. A simple movie, but still a quite enjoyable movie. I do want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com. And I invite you to visit us over at lanyardlab.com to see all of the different styles and custom lanyard options that we have available. You can request a price quote from us today to receive a free digital preview of your custom lanyard design. And it's easy to purchase right there on the website. So check it out, lanyardlab.com. Between episodes of this podcast, I encourage you to visit InsideTheMagic.net, where you'll not only find our podcast, but also links to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, which is the best way to keep up with everything that we do between podcasts each week. We're heading out to San Diego Comic-Con this week. Next month will be D23 Expo, and I'm sure we'll be posting like crazy during both of those events. And whenever we're in the parks and everything, we do post a lot there. So follow us there, and then, of course, on the website, you'll find all of the news updates that we new articles and reviews and interviews and all of that, and videos and photos and everything. So check it out, InsideTheMagic.net. I want to thank all of you for listening each and every week, and all of you for watching this late night, Sunday night on the live stream. Everybody on Sundays, normally about midday, maybe around 2 or 3 p.m. on Sundays at InsideTheMagic.net/live is when we do the show live. And then, of course, you can watch the replays on our YouTube channel and on the website. And, of course, download the audio version as well. So, once again, thanks for tuning in. Have a magical week. Goodbye.
Just a dream away. So there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.